Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Jim podcast. I am your host, GiGi, and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm so honored to have you here. And if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. So I am continuing talking about the planets individually because I just feel like a lot of the time we are given surface level definitions. For example, we're told the sun represents individuality and creativity. However, at the time we don't even know what that means. I mean, there are 12 astrological signs, so individuality and creativity can be expressed in 12 different ways. So it's very subjective. So now that we have an understanding of the signs, energies, I think it's appropriate for us to move on to understanding the planets, because the planets are extremely important and they just make up the chart actually. So there are essentially 10 planets, namely the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, and last but not least, Saturn. So in your birth chart, there are 12 houses. So naturally, there will be houses in your chart that don't have planets in them. And most astrologers would consider them empty. So it's not that they're empty. They still have, signs in that particular house, but there's just no planet in them. So like I said, it's not that there are no signs on the houses, it's just that the birth chart will be made of those 12 signs, but it's physically impossible to have all 10 planets in all those houses. And in some cases you will find, if you are interested in reading, your own birth chart, or even, charts of other people, celebrities, or even your family and friends, you'll notice that there are some charts whereby there is concentrated energy in a particular house. Now, by concentrated energy, I just mean a stellium, and a stellium is just basically having 3 or more planets in one specific house. And in that case, it just means that there's a whole lot of energy within that particular house. And I definitely intend on talking about stelliums as well. I'm excited for stelliums because I have a stellium and it's in the 9th house, and trust me, it is quite crazy. So today we're going to be talking about Jupiter. So Jupiter is known as Zeus in Greek mythology. He was known as the king of heaven and earth, also known as the god of justice, and gained this title following his overthrow of the god Saturn and the Titans. The king of the gods in Greek mythology is also known as the great benefic in astrology. I absolutely adore Jupiter, to be quite honest, because Jupiter is just that awesome planet in our chart that gives us a zest for life. It's the largest planet in the solar system. It's also it's just that part of us that continuously is just seeking for growth. It's seeking for expansion, which is true to its nature, being the largest planet and all that. And sometimes I just feel like Jupiter dominant people are just old souls. Like, honestly, these are the people that have just reincarnated, like, I don't know how many times, because their wisdom when you speak to them, or the way that they perceive life, is just, it's almost as if they've lived quite a number of lives, and they just keep coming back. They just keep reincarnating just to keep teaching people, just to keep spreading truth, just to keep seeking truth, just to be about, the truth and nothing but the truth, which I think is essentially, I think that's a beautiful it's a beautiful quality to have. I mean, we all need to have something that we believe in, and with Sagittarians, they believe in a lot of things and they're very passionate, but I'll talk more about that. Sometimes I feel like they are just such old souls. They're so wise. Just one conversation with them is literally enough to have you just motivated and wanting to, live life. And honestly, it's a beautiful thing to experience. Jupiter also, I think, is truly that part of us that is pure God conscious, representing the bigger questions concerning the universe, religion, philosophy, spirituality, and we could even take it a step further and just say even the cosmos. I think it's those questions where we're like, okay, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be learning from this experience? What are these people in my life showing me? What is the energy that they're projecting on me? What is the energy I'm projecting on them? What is my role that I'm playing here on earth? What's with the 3D? What's with the 4D? What's with the 5D? All the way up until 8D. They want to know all these or they seeking this knowledge. They definitely spiritually inclined, which is it's definitely that's definitely an energy that is prominent within them, just always seeking knowledge. So in our natal charts, Jupiter is the planet of growth, expansion, meaning that it will expand whatever house it finds itself in, and the nature it expands in would be determined by the sign. So for example, say you have Jupiter in the 6th house and it's in the sign of Libra, for example, that would make you somebody who tends to, overwork. Because I have this placement and I tend to overwork myself in work settings, definitely. I think people also perceive me as being fair in the workplace and quite diplomatic. And I also I have experienced, workplaces where I've been quite well received and, I've been liked, if I can put it that way. I also tend to overdo it when it comes to, health regimes, honestly. And then I quickly discard of them. Even in the gym, I'll be bouncing off the walls with energy and just really into it for like 2 days straight, only to leave it, and probably pick it up later again. I say probably because, it's a bit of a catch-22. I may not. I may pick it up again. I may not pick it up. And it also depends on the time frame, I think, because me going back and picking it up would probably take another couple of months. I don't know because Jupiter also has that it also has a nature of kind of being lazy, but I don't think lazy is the word. I just think maybe they overindulge because, like I said, it's the planet of expansion, so it expands everything. It will want to expand the nature in which it indulges in. So if Jupiter dominant people, and this would be, people who have their planets in the 9th house, or that have a lot of planets in Sagittarius, or that have a lot of aspects between Jupiter and other planets, then they definitely would overindulge in the things that they enjoy. And these people are also prone to addictions as well. Because like I said, the energy is it's a bit much. They just, if anybody, is Jupiter dominant, please comment down below so that you can tell us your experiences, because it's definitely, it's definitely that energy that can take it a bit too far. So, if you have Jupiter in the 6th house and it's in Libra, you'll probably be, that person that will go to the gym and be so energetic about it and be like, yes, finally I'm in the gym, I'm ready to go. And probably instead of doing like 2 reps, you probably do like 100, and then in like 2 days, and then you're in pain the next day and you're like, actually this is why I don't even gym in the first place, and then quit because you're just like, nah, this is not for you. You don't have to put yourself through all that pain, but not even realizing that without that pain you're not going to gain anything. But that's just the nature of it. And people who are Jupiter dominant will probably pick up this habit again at some point when they feel like, okay, they've indulged enough in the things that they enjoy. They'll probably be like, okay, now it's time to shed some weight, and then they'll go back to that, and then But honestly, I feel like, the negatives of Jupiter are not really deal breakers, because like I said, Jupiter is a benefic planet, it's the same with Venus. Venus is also a benefic planet. So wherever you have Jupiter and Venus, these are like feel good planets. These are planets that help us out, really. This is like, these planets are the gift from the cosmos to us, because honestly, we can't always be dealing with just malefic planets, like Saturn, and I think Mars is also a malefic planet. But yeah, we can't always be dealing with that. We need a bit of good vibes. We need positive vibes. So like I said, Jupiter is also the planet of abundance, as I keep saying, the planet of good fortune. It also represents law and justice and how it all ties into society. It's the ways in which we could actually accumulate wealth as well, and achievement would be plentiful if we were to find vocation using our Jupiter. Jupiter, I think, is also said to find your husband if you are, if you identify as female. And if you identify as male, you would look to your Venus to find the characteristics of the type of wife you could actually have. So me, considering that I have a Jupiter in Libra, I'd probably have somebody who's quite diplomatic, who is quite friendly. I don't really want to say probably be a people pleaser, more than they just don't like confrontation a lot. Because I think with Libras, I think they choose their battles quite wisely. I don't think they are necessarily people pleasers, but if there is an opportunity to keep the peace, then that's exactly what they do, because they like to be balanced. They like energies that are balanced. So they're not just gonna, tip their scales just because, you don't want to agree with them, or you're trying to start a disagreement with them. It's just not going to do that. For them, they'd rather spend that time doing something else. So considering that I do have Jupiter in Libra, my potential husband would be somebody that has those qualities, quite diplomatic, probably is very business orientated, probably is very much into the arts, maybe even into music, or is an artist. The possibilities are endless, really, because we'd really have to break down the nature of Libra to get a sense of what type of potential husband I would actually have. And we're only saying Jupiter is a potential husband because Jupiter, like I said, is a benefic planet. So you would want this energy around you because it benefits you in some ways. It makes everything plentiful. Like I said, it's resourceful, it's plentiful, it's abundance, it's good fortunes, good vibes, I could go on and on. But like I said, when it comes to, using Jupiter as a means to find out your vocation, it's actually a good idea, considering Libra is concerned with, the arts and, creativity, and it's concerned with business. I mean, the first person that comes to mind, even when I think about Libra energy and how they are using their Libra energy, is Kim Kardashian, to be quite honest. I mean, I think she is a Libra sun, so the way that she moves is basically, or even the industries that she's in are basically things that, I should be in, if I can put it that way. So, which, if you have a Jupiter in Libra, definitely in the arts, doing fashion, makeup, all of those, even an interior designer, everything that basically makes things beautiful, everything that makes things feel comfortable is definitely a career choice that would expand your network, your basically your social standing, everything. It would just basically expand if you were to use Jupiter when deciding what type of career you want to go into. I also find it interesting to note that Jupiter rules over the bottom part of the body, so it's the hips and the thighs, and also it being the co-ruler of Pisces, which rules the feet. It just means that, these people are constantly on a quest. They're constantly seeking answers, whether that be, it could even be closure, seeking closure, whether walking towards or running from or looking for truth. And that could be done in any way, really. It could be done through travel, conversation, through reading, even through their own experiences as well as their own thought processes as well. So the glyph for Jupiter, which is, I think it's It always looks like a 4. It's said to symbolize the human soul and the mind, and how it is encouraged to expand and develop its awareness and higher consciousness beyond the 3D, but still within the constraints of Earth. Because as we know, Jupiter tends to, like, there's just no limits with Jupiter. Like, they believe that they can do any and everything. When you think about the energy of this planet, it literally is like taking a rubber band and stretching it, and it just having no end as to how much it can stretch. So that is the type of energy. So it definitely encourages you to expand your higher consciousness, your horizon, which is known as your mind, so you can expand it as much as you want, but still within the constraints of, the 3D, the realm that we are currently in. You can expand it into the other realms, because Jupiter is also associated with spirituality, and with spirituality there are no boundaries, as we know with Pisces energy. Pisces, of course, represents spirituality in all its glory, and it also is co-ruled by Jupiter. So hello, I see the connection there. It can definitely expand, but it needs to expand within reason, because you just don't want to be perceived as crazy. Or it would even be better if you're able to expand this energy and then have people around you that would be able to understand it, because if not, then you probably are going to sound and look crazy to a lot of people. So I think it's important to bear that in mind. That's all that means. So you can expand your consciousness in 3D, but still within the constraints of Earth, only because of the fact that you just don't want to be a complete outcast. But anyway, Jupiter doesn't mind being an outcast, and I think you see this a lot with Sagittarians even. They are always just expanding. They are constantly just growing, towards a wholeness of some sort. And the manner in which they move, or rather the way they go about things in life, is almost with pristine intelligence. And it's as though they guided by higher knowledge. Another person who just comes to mind when I'm talking about this is Nicki Minaj. If you've ever listened to Nicki Minaj speaking, oh my God, you'd be totally blown away. And that's all I gotta say. So being the ruler of the 9th house, which rules over higher education, higher knowledge, religion, travel, curiosity in all its glory. I think I mentioned religion. Yeah, I did mention religion. This house is the house, that stems out of the 8th house. And the 8th house deals with things that we choose to hide, or even parts of ourselves we keep hidden from society. So things like other people's money, or like, if we're owing people other people's money, taxes, inheritances, contracts, and things of that nature. We now come out of that tunnel, out of our darkness, and now we step into the light, where we can now be more open and receptive, and most of all, liberal. Freedom here is definitely a thing. It's like the air that we breathe, literally. Wherever you find Jupiter, and whichever sign that your 9th house is in, you definitely want to expand. You don't want to be told no. Like, no is just not an option. You don't want to feel like you're jailed. Like I said, it's like air. And whichever house that it's in, freedom must definitely be felt. It must definitely be expressed. The freedom to believe what we want to believe for as long as we want, until we find better understandings, or we find a better understanding and adopt that and incorporate that into our lives. So this is definitely where we want to expand our consciousness, and we don't want to be prohibited in that process. We just want to be, afforded the opportunity to be free and just grow in the way that we feel we need to grow, without it being hindered by, society, or even outside forces for that matter. So morals also is ruled by the 9th house, and also integrity. This is basically one and the same thing in this house. I dare say it's really hard for Jupiter people to deceive itself, because they are essentially here for a higher purpose. And I can also understand why, to a certain degree, why people seem to feel as though Jupiter dominant people, or even Sagittarians for that matter, or even Pisces for that matter, can't commit, because honestly the purpose is much deeper than whatever they would have going on at that point in time. So I'm not trying to belittle, the situations that they might be in, the marriage that they might be in, or even the committed relationships that they may have with their partners. But essentially, they do understand that anything can happen at any time. They do understand that emotions do fluctuate. Today you might feel a particular way, tomorrow you feel a different way, because they also have that within their nature. I mean, they are fire sign, and with fire, honestly, it's like the term spreads like wildfire. It doesn't stay in one place. That is just the nature of fire signs. They want to expand, especially when it comes to Sagittarians. Especially when it comes to Jupiter dominant people, they just want to expand. They just want to move. They just want to roam free without the constraints, like I said. But like I said, it's not even that I'm trying to belittle the experiences. I think the experiences are absolutely necessary in the grooming process. Absolutely necessary. They need those experiences to make sure, or even to make sense of their future experiences, if that makes sense. But it should. Basically what I'm trying to say is that whatever they are experiencing currently is going to be something that they're going to look back on in hindsight, is basically what I'm trying to say. So as Jupiter is the largest planet, if you're loved by, a Sagittarius, or somebody who's Jupiter dominant, or even a Pisces, it's definitely going to be felt. You're definitely not going to be questioning your position in that person's life. And if you are questioning, then it probably isn't what you had in mind. It isn't what you want particularly. You must just know that then, there's definitely something wrong there, because usually Jupiter dominant people wear their emotions on their sleeve. It's not really something that is hidden. You'll definitely know. And also because, they truth tellers, so you'll definitely know where you stand with them. They're not afraid to some of them, they're not afraid to tell you exactly where you stand with them. So in most cases, if things are favorable, they'll definitely want to be your friend more than anything else, because I just think that they know that relationships based on a friendship just have a higher chance of lasting. And it also kind of, in a sneaky way, buys them more time to, to get to know you without it just being awkward, because, sometimes dating can be awkward. Let's not even lie, especially if you don't know that person is literally a stranger. It does tend to get awkward. But I mean, if this person is your friend and you started out as being friends or establishing a friendship, then it's a little bit less awkward. These are also the natural travelers. They will want to travel, explore new places with you, probably go to comedy shows, or even watch comedy shows on television, or whenever they do have downtime. These are definitely things that they feel definitely do contribute to enjoying life. These people love to laugh, like I said, comedies, or going to comedy shows, or even watching comedy shows on television. They love to laugh. They love enjoying themselves. They have a huge appetite for adventure, and just believe that, life should be enjoyed, which essentially it should be. I mean, hello. They are incredibly humble as well, and they kind of like a chameleon. just the same way that Pisces is also a chameleon. They kind of just they blend in anywhere, so you can literally blend, you can take them anywhere. They are definitely not the Sheldons from Big Bang Theory. They are definitely not the Sheldons. You can take them anywhere. They can fit in anywhere. Like I said, I think they also a bit like Geminis as well, and I don't even know why this energy is perceived as two-faced, because honestly, like, what? You definitely need to have an element of being adaptable in situations. Otherwise, how are you going to adapt to the world if you can't be adaptable and fluid and just kind of be or have, an appropriate way of being in certain situations? Just something that, I can't understand. But like I said, they have a huge appetite for adventure and believe that life should be enjoyed. Like I said, they're incredibly humble and can fit in anywhere, and they probably have a lot of friends, or they are pretty popular, pretty well known where they stay, or even on the socials. Just very jovial people. I also wanted to take a look at the possible reasons as to why Jupiter would even be a co-ruler to Pisces. Seeing as at face value, these are completely different signs. I mean, Sagittarius is a fire sign, first of all. Pisces is a water sign. So, I mean, already there is a major difference between, these two elements. It's like fire and water. What could they possibly have in common? So Pisces is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. And Jupiter rules over Sagittarius, as we have established. However, both planets being Jupiter and Neptune, are concerned with or point towards another higher level of consciousness. So I can't stress enough how spiritual Jupiter and how spiritual Neptune is. I mean, Neptune, gosh, we don't even need to say a lot, because already we just know that Neptunian energy is already so elusive. It's pretty much the planet where there literally is no veil, or if there is a veil, it's pretty transparent. So they definitely have access to the 5D at all times. And a lot of people seem to think that Neptunian dominant people are, constantly have their head in the clouds. Oh yeah, they definitely do have their heads, probably not in the clouds, but definitely in a different dimension. And definitely not in this 3D world. This 3D world is definitely not their happy place. That's one thing for sure. And I will be talking about Neptune in my next video, so do look out for that. So yes, they said to deal with higher levels of consciousness. They also said to represent the superconscious needs of a human being. So the superconscious needs of a human being, I think, would just be your higher self. It's just dealing with your higher self. It's just being true to your higher self, basically. I don't know how much more I can emphasize that. It's always about the higher self. It's always about the higher. It's always about the creator, the main creator, and having access or connecting to that higher source, if I can put it that way. Also, the veil sometimes it doesn't even exist here. Sometimes it's really transparent to the point where you literally can experience these supernatural you can have supernatural experiences if you do have, dominant Jupiter, dominant Neptune vibes. Like, is there even a veil to begin with? It doesn't even exist. Both planets also give of themselves and, are known for their generosity. I know with Pisces, oh my gosh, Pisces, the most beautiful people, I think, in my opinion. Well, if they are not unevolved. The evolved ones are pretty awesome. The ones who are quite self-aware, pretty awesome. But, between them and Sagittarians, definitely very extremely generous. These are the people that would literally take their shirt off their back for you. I've experienced this. I know this to be a fact. And that's one of the things that I've definitely found in common with these two signs. Extremely, extremely generous. Both planets also yearn to be part of a greater collective, which is kind of true. They basically want unity with and all of humankind. And as I'd mentioned earlier, the veil doesn't exist here. So they look beyond the details. They look beyond the veil. It's like beyond the horizon or even the human conscious as well. Because the human consciousness tends to be limited in a way. So these two signs are the two signs that, in my experience at least, that have the capacity or the capability to interpret, in most cases, the things that precede logic. Both planets also want freedom. However, they hope to achieve it through obedience of a higher law, which of course makes sense. And I think the more I actually try and dissect Jupiter, is just the more elusive it gets. It's like it's really hard to grasp, honestly, because Jupiter also Jupiter preserves and looks beyond its own reasoning. And I don't even know how many times I can actually say that. Like, how many times can I say that? How many times have I actually said that? And Jupiter also on its own is just known to be an elusive planet, and it's just one of the most it is the most misunderstood sign, the most understood planet, in my opinion. Jupiter, also being the planet of abundance, success, and wealth, is proof of positive thinking. Sagittarians really do operate from an open mind and heart, and these are definitely people who can attract positive outcomes. They are basically master manifestors, if that's even a word. Yes, master manifestors. It's like these individuals tend to operate on faith, and it's always faith in a higher being, a higher power, or even a higher consciousness, which is why their abundance is always there for them, why abundance always comes to them, because they are constantly in a state of attracting this abundance. Like I said, the world is theirs technically, and the world can be yours too as well, because we all have Jupiter in our charts. We are all able to tap into that energy and just flow how the universe intended without wanting to control. I think the biggest thing here is learning to not control wherever Jupiter is and whichever house Jupiter rules for you in your chart. Because remember, our ascendants will definitely be different, but all charts will have Jupiter. It's also important to remember that, in order for Jupiter's influence to be felt, a lot of the times it has to be aspected. If it's an unaspected Jupiter, then I'm not saying the energies can't be felt. It's just that sometimes if it's not aspected, it's a bit difficult for that energy to be expressed. Of course, I'm not saying that you can't be wealthy, you can't be abundant, you can't, expand your horizons through whichever medium you choose. I am just saying that, be mindful of that, because a lot of the times, especially the questions that I'd normally get from people, they'll always be like, oh my gosh, yes, I hear what you're saying, but I don't really resonate. And then I look at their chart and I'm like, you don't resonate because, your moon is not aspected, you haven't... So it's just important to keep that in mind, guys. Please, 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 please do keep that in mind. Like I said, we are all able to tap into that energy and just flow how the universe intended without wanting to control situations. In my next video, I will be discussing Neptune, the most misunderstood planet in astrology, and how it all correlates to our birth chart. And on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel. Again, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do. So keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.